Thanks for coming to this workshop. So I'm Alice from Provable Things. We are a blockchain oracle provider. Are you guys familiar with the concept? Yes, okay, perfect. That makes things easier. So because we are integrated and we serve a variety of different decentralized applications, we have a pretty good understanding of what is going on in the dApps ecosystem, and that also includes the DeFi ecosystem. So I will start discussing with you the potential of the DeFi ecosystem and what's the current status of it, and also how it did impact the larger blockchain environment. And then we will also see what's up with Provable, what are we doing for the DeFi movement, and what is lying ahead for our blockchain oracle. So I definitely spend too much time on Twitter, but that's useful because there's some interesting content there. So for example, a few weeks ago, there was this thread where people were trying to describe DeFi. So what does it mean, decentralized finance? And we have a few funny jokes, but I think the most interesting one is the concept of banking without banks. So as we can see here, we have banking anytime, anywhere in your control. I really like this definition because I think that's pretty much what we are doing with the DeFi movement. So we are trying to build, we are not trying to start the financial sector from scratch, but I think we are trying to improve the financial sector to make it more transparent and to make the old processes that we have today less complex and accessible for a larger audience. So, that's also pretty nice, decentralized in finance day by day. So I think what's important to understand is that decentralized finance, it's not just DAI, because today, of course, DAI is one of the main applications that we are using in the DeFi movement, but at the same time, I feel like we are kind of losing the focus on the fact that the decentralized finance goes beyond that, and it includes a lot of different tools, financial instruments, derivatives, lending platforms that leverage DAI but go beyond that as well. So decentralized finance, to me, is banking without banks, in the sense that I don't think we are going to replace banks anytime soon, but I think that we have started, also with fintech more in general, a process that goes to provide banking services to people that are not strictly related to the bank institution, so that we make everything more accessible, user-friendly, and in the pockets of many more people. So what's the status of DeFi today? So I have used a few different websites that aggregate data. So this one is from DeFi Pulse. I think what's interesting to see here is that the amount logged into DeFi applications today is over $500 million. I think this is pretty good, specifically if we compare it with what was going on just last year or 2 years ago. The figures are really different. I mean, in 2017, the DeFi ecosystem wasn't really there yet. We were just starting to, talk about decentralized finance. We were just starting to throw a few ideas there about how we could build financial applications on the blockchain. And I think the amounts involved in that sector at the time were pretty much zero, or maybe just slightly above zero, while today, just 2 years later, we have $500 million locked into DeFi applications. So the growth is pretty relevant, and it really shows us where we are today. Also, if we look at the applications, I mean, most of those are lending, but we can see other things as well. So we have derivatives, we have DEXs, we have payments, asset management platforms. So those are the most widely used today. So I think we are building something interesting and pretty good. So going beyond the pure amount of money that we are investing into the DeFi movement, what's the status of dApps? So are we actually building stuff, or are we just throwing money to compound, or I don't know, to die? So this chart, I think it's interesting because this is from dApp Review. It shows where the activity is today, and definitely it's lending. Lending is one of the main applications in the DeFi sector that are being used today. And this is really interesting because I think the reason why we have lending platforms that are so much more used compared to other financial applications is that it's the concept behind that is pretty simple. I mean, you lend money, you borrow money, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's more complex than that, but the bottom line is pretty much just lending money and borrowing money. So it's relatively simple, and I think this is good because these simple applications are always the ones that drive, the growth into one sector. We saw that also for blockchain in general. So what are the applications that were launched on blockchain networks first? Gambling. It was so with Bitcoin, it was so with Ethereum. Definitely gambling applications were like the first use case that attracted attention. That's because it's easy. Anyone can use it, anyone can understand it. So it's very simple and straightforward. And that's so also for financial applications. So we are at a later stage now. We are building a new financial sector, an improved financial sector, and the first application that attracts attention is definitely lending. So I like this chart. It's from Alethio because it shows the status of the network today. So as I just said, definitely compound and lending platforms and DYDX, MakerDAO, Nuo. So those, I mean, we see, I don't know, 4 or 5 main applications that are being used today, but still seeing the interaction between those and seeing the network that involves DeFi dApps is, I mean, it looks good, right? It looks that things are moving, things are going on. And be ready for this, because this was the ecosystem less than a year ago. So this was November 2018. It was, I mean, we have Compound, we have MakerDAO, but really it was pretty much just this. So not much. While this is today. So this is a relevant growth, I would say. It's not just money locked into the DeFi ecosystem. It's not just that is growing, but also the usage and the number of dApps that are being built and that are being used. So I think this is a really nice chart that shows the growth pretty well. So where are we? So is DeFi the new big thing, or are we just at the beginning of the curve, of the growth? Well, if we look at this chart, I think we can see where DeFi is. I would say DeFi is finance, exchanges, and maybe a little bit of higher risk. But yeah, so it's definitely not the biggest use case. Games and casinos are still much larger than DeFi. And that's interesting because it looks like a big growth. It looks like DeFi is like, wow. But really, it is wow. It has potential, but we are really just at the beginning of the growth. And what if we compare DeFi with the traditional financial sector? So this is the figures that are being handled by the London Clearing House, so traditional financial world. Those are the figures that are being handled by DeFi. So we have trillions here, and we have $500 million here. I think that's interesting to see and to compare, because we can see the scale of the two, and it's not that big, really. The DeFi movement, it's still small. If we go beyond our own bubble, it's still small. That's the potential. So this is where we want to go. This is what we are building. So I think the potential of the DeFi ecosystem is really huge, and we are working towards that. So, as I said before, that's an ecosystem that's growing a lot. It's expanding a lot, and we see that also in the number of ethers and DAI and dollars that are locked into this ecosystem. So it's pretty much, this was 1 year ago, and this is today. So the growth is pretty relevant. And I think the interesting part here is to see that this is not the money invested to develop dApps, but it's the money used to leverage and interact with dApps. I think that's really interesting because people could just sit there and have their money, holding their money in their wallets, holding their crypto in their wallets, and just wait for them to, increase their value or fluctuate or whatever. Instead, they decide to go on DeFi applications and to interact with them. So let's speak, for example, Compound. You could just decide to have your money there, but instead you go to Compound because many reasons. Maybe someone is just interested to try out the tech. Someone else is definitely goes to Compound because of the interest rate. So it's many different reasons, but I think there is definitely attention there. So definitely there are many interests in those kind of applications and in using them. So we were saying before that lending is the biggest use case right now in the DeFi movement, but it's not the only one. I think this is a really important point because if it was just lending, that was it. But actually, there are so many different financial instruments and financial elements that we can build. So this is a chart that shows the usage of DEXs over time. So we see that it's not just lending. We also have DEXs that are growing. Its usage is growing, and we are building more. We have many more different options, and this is really good. And also we have other kind of use cases within the DeFi movement. So for example, we have stablecoins. Stablecoins, we have so many stablecoins today. We have Tether, I mean, once it was just Tether, right? While today we have Tether, we have USDC, we have DAI. Well, Facebook's Libra is probably a stable coin as well. So it's definitely another use case that is attracting a lot of interest and that is helping to shape and to grow the DeFi ecosystem. And then we have derivatives and many others. Here we have DeFi Prime infographic that shows what is going on, tries to include all the projects that are working in the DeFi ecosystem. What's amazing about this chart is the fact that we have so many different projects, but even more, the fact that we have so many different use cases. So we really have asset management, lending, exchanges, staking, stable coins, infrastructure, and KYC, derivatives, insurance, payments. It's so many different use cases. So it's not just one, but we are actually exploring the financial sector in its all. So this is where we need to work, and this is where we need to focus for this DeFi movement to actually have an impact on the traditional financial sector. Because maybe some of those will die, some of those will grow and replace HSBC, but I think the point here is that we don't want to build a new financial sector. We want to integrate with the current financial sector. We want to improve it. We want to make it more transparent and maybe replace some pieces, but yeah. So what is Provable doing? Why we are here? What's up with us? So in many cases, DeFi applications, if they want to have an impact on the real world, if they want to interact with the traditional financial industry, they need data from the real world. They need to reach web APIs, they need to use mature financial libraries for derivatives, they need to interact with existing financial systems. So what we do at Provable is providing a blockchain oracle, so we connect smart contracts with the real world, with either it is a web API or an external context, but we do really provide this bridge. So there is an overlapping between the world of DeFi and the world of Provable, where DeFi applications can benefit and can leverage a blockchain oracle to have an impact on the real world, to connect with the real world, and to go beyond the POC stage. So what is Provable? What are we doing? Just for a generic introduction, so natively, blockchain applications cannot reach out to the external world because of inherent limitation of decentralized networks. So they do need an oracle to go and reach the internet. And this is what blockchain oracles do. So they connect smart contracts with the external world, and this is what we do at Provable. This is our main focus. So the Provable blockchain oracle is a security-oriented data transport layer for decentralized applications to connect with web APIs. How it works? It works we have two different parts. One part that is on-chain and the other part that's off-chain. And we leverage two different components, two different cutting-edge technologies that are blockchain and trusted computing. So what we do is not only we provide you with the bridge to go and fetch external data from the real world, but we also enable you to have a fully auditable and trust minimized process, in the sense that you can verify at any time that the data that was delivered to the smart contract was indeed the one generated from the web API that you choose. So just a simple example in the field of insurance, let's say that you have a flight insurance policy, so you get a payout in case your flight is late. For the smart contract to know and to issue the payout or to trigger whatever action it needs to do, they need to know the data. They need to connect with Flightradar or British Airways website or whatever, and understand, get to know what's the status of the flight, if the flight landed or not, if it was late or not, and then they need to make sure that this information is indeed authentic and is indeed like the one that they need to make sure that nobody tampered with this information, especially because you are releasing a payout, so there's money involved. So there is definitely an incentive for people to manipulate this information, for example, to get the payout even though the flight was not late. So this is the important part, and this is why we are leveraging also trusted computing. As a company, we think that trusted computing, it's a great technology that combines pretty well blockchain, because it enables to extend the potentiality of and the capabilities of blockchain, but without losing its benefits. So it's trust minimized, it's not completely trustless, but at the same time, you can check at any point in time the whole process. It's fully auditable, so you can make sure that the data you have received, it's indeed the correct one that was produced by Flightradar. Or, I don't know, in case of a financial application, the one that was produced by Bloomberg, or that was produced by, I don't know, Binance. And that's really important, also because in case there is a tampering, so in case someone actually manipulated the data, what you can do thanks to this system is that you can spot the manipulation right away. And you can decide, for example, to discard that data and not to trigger any action. And then you can have other logics that depend on like the smart contract developer or on your use case. So this is the tricky part that goes beyond, the simple Oracle service. That's pretty much that's not, building an Oracle service is not the complex part. Building a secure, reliable Oracle service is the complex part. So a system like this actually makes sure that your decentralized applications are secure and safe at any time. So our blockchain Oracle is a tool for developers. So we want dApps to grow, and we are trying to make things simple for developers, but also for startups. So we are trying to take care of this part so that startups can focus on like the core of their use case, and can forget about this part, just leverage somebody else's service. So to make it even easier, we have integrated with the other development platforms out there, so that the service is already, you don't need to install anything additional. You can just leverage the service straight away. You can just go on Truffle Suite or Remix or Open Zeppelin platform and just leverage the service from there straight away. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, just works. And also we are, today we are integrated with many different platforms. Again, this is because we don't want to be a burden for startups. So for example, there are decentralized applications that were born on Ethereum, but now are migrating on another platform or on a sidechain or a layer 2 solution. Or for example, there are dApps that want to be deployed on different networks for a variety of reasons. So what we have built is a system that provides a simple interface that it's pretty much the same every time for every blockchain. So we abstract out all the complexity and we make the service available on different platforms. Today we are integrated with Ethereum, RSK, EOS, Corda, and Hyperledger Fabric. But we have other integrations coming up so that you will be able to find our APIs, our blockchain oracle, pretty much anywhere. So just to wrap this part up, we are providing a secure data transport layer whose main features are fully auditable process, the ability to reach web APIs, any kind of web API, an interoperable network, an interoperable system that connects with multiple networks, and finally, a tool that enables you to leverage existing financial tools by delegating computations off chain. So it's not just for data, it's not just to retrieve financial data, but it's also for computations. So for example, on Ethereum, you don't have floating points arithmetics, or you cannot use mature financial tools because of many reasons, because of incompatibility, because it's too heavy to run on blockchain. So what you can do is leverage this same system, and instead of just retrieving the data, you can delegate a computation to an external context and then get back the result. And again, the process is fully auditable and is trust minimized so that you can check that at any point in time everything went as expected, and that basically the process and the computation happened as intended. So let's go beyond that. So we are, as I said, we are a tool that interoperates and works with a variety of different decentralized applications. We are not specialized on a specific use case because the tool is flexible enough. It can serve a variety of different use cases. However, we have monitored the ecosystem, and the DeFi movement is definitely attracting a lot of attention, and we feel like it has a huge potential. This is why we have decided to release a DeFi product that's integrated with our main core service, that's the blockchain oracle, but is more specific and custom-made for financial applications, financial decentralized applications. So yeah, we can see here that DeFi dApps count for 30% of the usage of our blockchain oracle. So this is quite a lot, I would say, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to go and to build a product that is specifically for this new industry that's growing. So the new DeFi product that we are launching is an interoperable financial instrument that enables fully auditable multi-blockchain financial transactions. This is hard to say for me because it's a really long description. But basically, it's really simple. It's just a financial instrument. It leverages the same technologies and same expertise that we are using for the blockchain oracle. As I said, the blockchain oracle is already integrated and available on multiple chains. And it's already interoperable with a variety of other decentralized applications and a variety of other infrastructure tools. So it leverages the same underlying technology, but it's just redirected to a more specific audience and to the DeFi movement. So this is a financial instrument that we have built and that will be at the basis of a further growth of this industry, of the decentralized financial industry. So while we are already providing and are already boosting, I would say, the DeFi movement while providing our blockchain oracle, we want to do it even more by providing another infrastructure tool that it's needed and that will enable to this sector to grow even further. So the main aims and the main goals that we have for this new financial instrument are to bring more liquidity to DEXs, lending platforms, and other DeFi applications, to enable the growth of more decentralized financial platforms and instruments. So, for example, derivatives, specifically derivatives more than lending platforms. So we want to have a larger variety of financial instruments and financial tools in this new ecosystem, and we believe that this tool will enable this. And finally, it will make it easier for exchanges, wallets, and other applications to manage multi-chain financial transactions. Because today, it's pretty much every application is kind of walled in the blockchain they are built on. We want to make cross-chain financial transaction easier. And since we already have all the technology there and ready because of the Oracle service, we just decided to go in this direction, extend our service and serve this purpose as well. And yeah, so this was just a sneak peek, but we will have an official announcement and release at DevCon 5. So yeah, make sure to be there. So yeah, that's it. I hope that this was interesting for you. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now, or I will be around the whole day. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Should work.
Hello.
No. Yeah.
How do you compare to other Oracle layers out there?
So it depends on, there are many different oracles, I would say. So for example, there are oracles networks, such as Witnet or Chainlink. In that case, they are more focused on the protocol, while we are more focused on the operation and the bridge, I would say. So potentially what it could happen is that while we provide the same service, at the same time, it's not really the same focus, and it doesn't. We have followed different approaches, so potentially you could have also Provable on top of those networks. So we have been focusing on building a strong technology that enables this bridge between blockchain and the external world. So for example, we also use a variety of different technologies in terms of trusted computing to make sure that the transport layer is secure. And we are connected with different networks, so it's because of how it is built, it's relatively easy for us to add new networks and connect you to different chains. So for example, we could also operate on top of Oracle's networks and offer our service there, so that people could leverage even there our same interface that already leverage on other networks. Yeah.
How quickly would it take the team behind Provable to add another chain? So let's say there was great demand for Solana in the future. I mean, would that be a quick turnaround, or is it quite a laborious process?
No, it's quite quick in the sense that the underlying technology is kind of like self-standing. So there is then just this piece that connects with the different networks, but it's not like we have to rebuild the whole thing every time. We have, I would say, 80% of the underlying infrastructure that it's always the same, and then we have this 20% that needs to be rebuilt. And how it is difficult, how long it takes, it really depends on the networks. Because, for example, if we have, for example, for many private networks or side chains that are based on Ethereum, we already have a tool that works straight away. So that's even easier. While for other networks, it's relatively easy, but it depends on the implementation of the network itself. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will be around the whole day.